the story spreads a message of kindness that transcends all barriers of species and hatred. Milo, the dog, and Maria, the woman who lost her loved ones, were ready to help a family in danger. They acted with courage and unconditional love, giving without expecting anything in return. Let us know where you're watching from. Now, relax and enjoy this amazing story. Milo'd been the pride of the Mountain County Search and Rescue Team, with 20 successful finds to his name. But Milo had not been assigned any more missions since the avalanche incident, when Milo led the rescue team in the wrong direction, and a family of 3 lost their lives. One night, someone opened Milo's kennel. It might have been an act of mercy, or maybe just to solve a problem. Milo wandered for months, until Mason found him digging through trash behind the quick stop, and brought him back to the house in a cart, as a gift for his wife, Lucy. Milo lived a hard life in the Miles household, where Mason's construction wages went straight to the liquor store, and Lucy's tips from waitressing barely covered the bills. Lucy's pregnancy triggered something unexpected in the Miles household. Mason stopped drinking for 2 whole weeks after hearing the news. He fixed a leaking roof, replaced the broken porch step, and even bought paint for the spare room. But 2 weeks before the due date, Mason lost his construction job. That night, for the first time in months, the familiar smell of whiskey permeated the trailer. The sound of breaking glass followed. Milo retreated to his post outside the nursery, nose pressed against the door frame, eyes alert in the darkness, as if already aware that his real job, his most important job, was about to begin. Violet's birth completely changed the atmosphere in the Miles trailer. Mason did odd jobs around the neighborhood, fixing Mrs. Patterson's fence, helping Mr. Gunderson with his leaky roof. Milo became Violet's unofficial guardian, lying beside her bassinet during naps, alerting Lucy with a gentle nudge when Violet awoke crying. When Violet cried and no one came, he would nudge Lucy awake. He learned to detect the smell of a soiled diaper and would drag the diaper bag to Lucy's feet. When Violet began to crawl, Milo became her constant shadow, steering her away from broken glass and forgotten cigarettes. By Violet's 8th month, Milo had established a nightly ritual. After Mason and Lucy tumbled into their sleep, Milo would perform a careful inspection of the trailer. He would nudge forgotten cigarettes off tables, push beer bottles away from edges, and check that the front door was secure. Then he would return to Violet's room, jumping carefully into her crib despite his aging joints, positioning himself so that she could nestle against his warm flank. That night, even though Milo was dozing fitfully, he became instantly alert. He smelled it before he saw it, the acrid scent of synthetic carpet fibers beginning to burn. He raced to the living room. The cigarette had ignited a small flame, which was now spreading to the pizza box. Milo barked loudly, but Mason didn't stir. The dog tried pawing at Mason's leg, even nipping at his hand. Milo turned to Lucy's bedroom, employing the same desperate tactics, but she merely groaned and rolled over. The fire was growing now, feeding on the cardboard and the cheap carpet. Smoke began to fill the small trailer. Milo made his decision with the clarity that had once made him an exceptional rescue dog. He would save Violet first, then return for her parents if possible. With gentle precision, he gripped the collar of her fleece pajamas between his teeth and lifted her from the crib. Violet stirred but didn't wake, fully accustomed to Milo's careful handling. The front door was blocked by growing flames. That left the back door accessible through the kitchen. Navigating through the thickening smoke, Milo carried Violet into the kitchen. The back door had a simple lever handle that Milo had learned to operate months ago during his nighttime security checks. He placed Violet gently on the linoleum floor, where the air was still relatively clear, and jumped up to press the lever with his paw. Milo carried Violet to the far corner of the yard, as far from the trailer as the chain-link fence would allow, and gently placed her on a relatively dry patch of ground. He raced back inside, staying low, making his way to Lucy's bedroom first. Lucy was still in bed, unmoving despite the smoke. Milo barked and pulled at her arm, even nipped at her shoulder hard enough to draw blood, but she remained unconscious, her breathing shallow. Milo raced to the living room, where conditions were even worse. The couch was fully engulfed, and Mason was nowhere visible through the smoke and flames. A loud crack overhead signaled structural damage. The roof was beginning to fail. The decision was agonizing, but clear. Milo turned and bolted back through the kitchen and out the rear door, where Violet still lay crying on the ground. In the distance, he could hear sirens. A neighbor must have spotted the fire and called emergency services. But the trailer was isolated. The response time would be long, and the night was bitterly cold. Violet couldn't survive long in these temperatures. Milo tucked her as close to his body as possible and began moving toward the tree line, toward the distant sound of traffic that promised salvation. As they emerged from the tree line, the highway spread before them, 2 lanes in each direction separated by a concrete median barrier. Milo leaned over her, his body providing what warmth he could spare while positioning himself to be visible to oncoming traffic. Maria hadn't wanted to drive at night, especially not on this stretch of highway where memories lurked, like highway patrolmen waiting to pull her over into grief's breakdown lane. But her father's congestive heart failure hadn't consulted her schedule or her trauma before worsening suddenly that afternoon. Now, driving back toward her empty condo at just past midnight, Maria kept the radio off. The silence helped her focus, helped keep her mind from wandering to that other night drive 3 years ago. Her headlights illuminated the scene in stages. First, the German Shepherd standing alert on the shoulder. Then, the bundle beneath it. Then, most shocking of all, what appeared to be a tiny human hand extending from the bundle. Her hands trembled as she reached for her cell phone, automatically dialing 911 before pausing, finger hovering over the call button. The dispatcher would ask questions she couldn't answer. Police and ambulances would take time to arrive. Precious minutes in which that small hand might grow colder, might stop moving altogether. And something about the dog's posture suggested this was no random occurrence or accident. Maria put down her phone and cautiously opened her car door. "Hello, do you need help?" The German Shepherd's head snapped toward her voice, its posture instantly changing, from still vigilance to alert defense. A low growl rumbled from its throat, not aggressive, but clearly warning. Maria stopped, raising her hands to show she carried nothing threatening. "It's okay. I want to help." The dog's growl subsided, but its body remained tensed, ready to move if necessary. As Maria drew closer, she could see the animal was in terrible condition, patches of fur missing, burns visible on its legs and muzzle, its once powerful frame gaunt with malnutrition. And beneath it, partially visible now, was undeniably a human infant, wrapped in what appeared to be a frozen blanket, its face alarmingly pale in the harsh glow of Maria's headlights. "That baby needs help. I have a car right there with heat. I can take you both to a hospital." The dog's intelligent eyes seemed to assess her, looking beyond her words to some quality only it could perceive. Maria remained still, heart pounding, suddenly aware of how exposed they all were on this highway shoulder. "I lost my daughter 3 years ago. She was 5. Her name was Lily. I couldn't save her, but maybe I can help save this child. Please." Something in the dog's demeanor shifted. Its posture relaxed slightly, but enough to suggest a tentative acceptance. It took a small step back from the infant, though remaining close enough to intervene, if necessary. When she reached the infant, a sob caught in her throat. The baby girl, she could see it was a girl now, couldn't have been more than 8 or 9 months old. Her lips had a bluish tinge, her breathing was shallow, she wore only pajamas. The blanket around her, so thin and frozen, provided almost no protection. The car accelerated smoothly, eating up the miles between the desolate stretch of highway and Ridgeview Memorial Hospital. Maria kept the baby cradled against her with one arm, while steering with the other, not the safest arrangement, but the child needed direct body heat. Occasionally, she'd glance in the rearview mirror, meeting the German Shepherd's steady gaze. As dawn broke over Ridgeview, both patients had stabilized, but remained critical. Violet's temperature had risen. Her oxygen levels were improving, and she had begun to respond to stimuli, weakly grasping a nurse's finger when it brushed her palm. Milo's condition declined. His damaged lungs struggled to process oxygen. His heartbeat grew increasingly erratic, and his kidneys showed signs of stress from processing toxins from his burned tissue. Dr. Warren added more medications to the IV, adjusted the oxygen flow, and gently cleaned the wounds again. But his expression grew more somber with each passing hour. By mid-morning, the story had broken. Public reaction was immediate and passionate, but notably divided. Many hailed Milo as a hero, a remarkable example of canine loyalty and intelligence. Others expressed skepticism about the narrative, questioning whether a dog could have truly understood the danger and intentionally rescued a child. The debate intensified when footage emerged from a neighbor's security camera showing Milo carrying Violet from the burning trailer and into the woods. The grainy nighttime video quickly went viral, with millions viewing the 12-second clip of the determined dog navigating through smoke with the small bundle clutched carefully in his jaws. Support for Milo swelled. A crowdfunding campaign for his veterinary care raised over $20,000 in hours. Children sent hand-drawn get-well cards to the clinic. A toy company announced plans for a Hero Milo plush dog with profits directed to animal rescue organizations. The first thing Lucy Miles was aware of was pain, all-encompassing pain that radiated from her smoke-damaged lungs through her entire body. The second was the antiseptic smell of the hospital room, where she found herself, bandages covering burns on her arms, an oxygen mask over her face. Hearing the information about Violet and Milo from the doctor and the police, Lucy tried to process it in her shock. Milo, the neglected dog, had saved Violet. 3 days after the fire, Maria had established a routine that revolved entirely around 2 patients in 2 different facilities: mornings at Ridgeview Memorial with Violet, afternoons and evenings at the animal hospital with Milo. Violet was improving steadily. Her lungs were clearing. Her temperature had normalized. She had begun smiling at the nurses, who cared for her. The social worker assigned to her case, Rachel Allen, was a kind-faced woman in her 50s who visited daily, consulting with doctors and making notes in a thick file. She's resilient. What will happen to her? Her mother survived the fire. She's at County General with smoke inhalation and burns. Once she's medically stable, there will be a hearing about custody. Given the circumstances, abandoning a child during a fire, previous reports of neglect, it's unlikely she'll regain custody immediately, if at all. And then what? Foster care. Most likely, unless a family member comes forward. Maria looked down at her coffee. I lost my daughter 3 years ago. She was 5. Being with Violet, it doesn't fix anything, but it helps, somehow. Have you spoken with the mother at all? I'm not sure I could face her, knowing she left her baby behind. People make terrible mistakes in moments of panic. Maria was saved from responding by the arrival of Officer Nolan, who had been investigating the fire and its aftermath. He spotted them and approached their table, his expression unusually somber. Miss Barber, could I speak with you privately? Maria followed him to a quiet corner of the cafeteria, anxiety flickering through her. Had something happened to Milo? Officer Nolan began without preamble. I've been reviewing the background of the Miles family, including prior incidents involving Mason Miles. Barber, I believe you've encountered Mr. Miles before, 3 years ago, on Highway 16, just past the Millfield exit. What are you saying? Mason Miles was the drunk driver who crossed the center line that night, the one who hit your family's car. The cafeteria seemed to tilt around Maria. Her hand trembled as she pushed the report away without reading it. She didn't need to see the official documentation. The memory of headlights in her lane, the scream of metal, the silence that followed, was permanently etched in her mind. Does his wife know about what he did? I don't think so. Miles was released from prison shortly before she became pregnant. I suspect he didn't share that particular history with her. Maria sat in silence, emotions warring within her, and a strange sense of cosmic connection. And underneath it all, a question she couldn't yet articulate. What did this mean for her relationship with Violet? By the time Lucy Miles was well enough to be transported to Ridgeview for her first supervised visit with Violet, the information had become part of the complex legal landscape surrounding the child's future. Rachel Allen observed quietly from the corner, making notes, while a hospital social worker supervised the interaction. Maria had chosen not to be present, still unsure how to reconcile her feelings about Lucy. A neglectful mother, who had fled a fire without her child, but also a woman who had unknowingly married the man responsible for killing Maria's family. After the visit, legal proceedings began in earnest. The district attorney considered criminal charges against Lucy for child endangerment, while Child Protective Services petitioned for permanent removal of Violet from her mother's custody. Lucy, now sober by force of circumstance, obtained a public defender and fought desperately to maintain her parental rights. Meanwhile, Violet remained in hospital longer than medically necessary. Maria visited daily, bringing toys and books, singing lullabies that she had once sung to Lily. The nursing staff tacitly supported her growing bond with Violet, often scheduling their breaks during Maria's visits to allow them privacy. 2 weeks after the fire, Judge Kimberly Gray called an unusual preliminary hearing in her chambers rather than open court, seeking to shield the case from the media circus that had developed. Present were Rachel Allen, Lucy's attorney, the assistant district attorney, and Maria. Mrs. Miles, your attorney has submitted a proposal for reunification, including substance abuse treatment, parenting classes, and supervised visitation. While commendable, this raises the question, is this genuine change or simply response to a crisis? Your Honor, I can't change what happened. I can only try to be better now. Violet is all I have left. Judge Gray nodded, then addressed Maria. Miss Barber, Rachel Allen informs me that you've formed a significant attachment to Violet. Given the unusual circumstances connecting you to this family, how do you see your role going forward? I cared deeply about Violet's welfare. I wasn't looking to become part of her life. But now that I am, I can't imagine walking away from her. The answer came from a place deeper than conscious thought. Violet was simply a child who needed love and stability. In the interim, Violet needs a placement outside the hospital. Mrs. Miles is not currently able to provide appropriate care due to her injuries and pending legal matters. Therefore, I'm ordering temporary foster placement. Miss Allen has suggested you might be willing to serve as Violet's foster parent temporarily. Miss Barber, you've already been expedited through preliminary background checks. Would you be willing to take on this responsibility? Maria felt the weight of the judge's question, not just the practical implications of caring for an infant, but the emotional complexity of fostering the child of the man who had destroyed her family. Yet, when she pictured Violet's face, the answer was clear. Yes, Your Honor. I would be honored to care for Violet for as long as she needs me. The judge nodded, making a note in her file. Supervised visitation for Mrs. Miles will be arranged twice weekly. Miss Barber, this is a temporary arrangement pending further hearings. Do you understand? I do. Lucy's expression was a complex mixture of gratitude and loss. Thank you for saving her when I couldn't, for loving her when I failed. Maria met the younger woman's eyes, seeing past her initial judgment to the broken person beneath, someone who had made terrible mistakes, but who loved her daughter in her own flawed way. She's worth saving, worth loving. As Violet's situation slowly came to a temporary solution, Milo's condition was also starting to improve. Violet was brought to visit Milo, and the dog wagged his tail happily upon seeing the healthy little girl. It seemed their friendship was the magical cure that lifted Milo's spirits. 2 weeks after Violet's first visit, nearly a month after the fire, Dr. Warren delivered the news Maria had begun to hope for. He's ready to go home. He'll need ongoing care, medication, and regular checkups. but medically speaking, he no longer needs to be hospitalized. Maria looked up from where she was helping Violet read a picture book to Milo. Home. But where? The foster placement agreement included approval for a pet, didn't it? I believe that was specifically added by Judge Gray. On a bright March morning, Milo left Ridgeview Animal Hospital on shaky legs, but under his own power, walking slowly beside Maria's car as she opened the door for him. In the back seat, Violet sat securely in her car seat, babbling happily at the sight of her protector joining their small family. Milo risked his life to protect Violet and tried to save her parents. As for Maria, she let go of her hatred, continued to care for, and walked alongside Violet's family with a sincere heart. What do you think of their noble actions? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. If this story touched your heart, give it a like and share it with others. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to hear more inspiring stories. Goodbye, and see you soon.